Sveiki and welcome back to your Irregular Latvian lesson, just in time for Halloween. In many cultures, and Latvian is no exception, a special place is reserved for the dead. As you know from the video on Kapu Svētki, cemetery festival, Latvians are not ones to fear death. However, if at all possible, we like to avoid calling it by its true name. Instead, we have a bunch of alternatives, some poetic and some... you'll see. Let's go! As of 2023, because this might change in the future, no matter how rich or healthy you are, sooner or later, visi mirst. Everybody dies. Or rather, nomirst. That prefix no, adding here that notion of dying as an accomplished task. Unlike pamirt, which would be to die briefly. And we use that about limbs when they go to sleep or cease functioning normally. So, nomirt, to successfully die, is like the most basic way to describe somebody dying in Latvian. But we're not basic, are we? So, when explaining to children that grandma has died, we might say she aizmiga mūžīgā miegā. She fell into eternal sleep. Or aizlaidās uz mākoņa maliņu. She flew away to live on the edge of a cloud. When speaking about people dying of old age or after fighting a disease, we can also say they izdzist. Literally, they extinguish themselves, but in Latvian that sounds much more poetic and is often used in news, for example. A bit less poetic, but still okay to say, would be that people izlaist garu. They let their spirit out. This can also, by the way, be said about home appliances. So, like your velismašīna, your washing machine, can izlaist garu, let its spirit out, which means that you need to replace it or repair it. For humans, Latvians also like to evoke the notion of departing, of walking away. So, about the grandma, we can also say vecmāmiņa aizgāja pagājušo rudeni. She left, but actually died last autumn. Or you can use the word doties rather than leave, which is aiziet, doties, to go or to set off on a journey, but this one needs to be used in combination with some kind of destination. For example, you can doties mūžībā, you can set off to eternity, popular destination for those who die. When speaking about animal deaths, if you loved your pet, you can say that they devās uz labākiem medību laukiem. They took off to better hunting ground. And if you didn't love your pet so much, or if you're like a very cynical person, you can also use the word nosprāga. From sprāgt, to explode, nosprāga is a little bit less a nice way to say that your pet has died, and please don't use that about your grandma. But you can use it about home appliances, and actually computers are the most common things to nosprāgt, either that or cars. Dators nosprāga, there's no moral dilemma in this case. And still, if you want to make it a bit nicer, you can also say dators nobeidzās. From baked to end, it ended itself, went into end, your computer is dead. Before we talk about the next ways to die, first we need to take a look at two words, saule and pasaule. So saule in Latvian means the sun, and pasaule, literally under the sun, is how we say the world. So when people depart from this world, we sometimes say aiziet viņa saulē, to go to the other sun, or aiziet aizsaulē, to go to the place beyond the sun. Aizsaule and viņsaule are perhaps the most popular evocations of death in the Latvian language. If you look at our dainas, you would see these words a lot, as there are many dainas that talk about Latvians looking at their life here in pasaule as a temporary one compared to the life beyond this world in aizsaule or viņsaule or cita saule. Here's one for you. Šai saulē dzīvodams, living under this sun, viņu sauli daudzināju. I sang about the other sun. Šai saulē ciemoties, I am but a guest in this sun, viņā mūžu nodzīvot. Under the other sun, I'll spend my life. And as Latvian burial tradition calls for zārki, casket, those two in Dainas are often referred to as mūža mājas, the lifetime home. Again, evoking the idea that living is a temporary thing, and once you go to the other sun, that's when you start living. And speaking of going places, there are also some phraseologismi, more abstract destinations that one can go instead of saying that they die. Aiziet pa skuju taku, to leave by the trail of pin needles, evokes the Latvian burial tradition of placing pine branches or Christmas tree branches around the grave. You can also aiziet pie tēviem, go to your fathers, which is something we say very often, those of us who are alive, in the case of a fright or something similar. Dievs, God, es gandrīz aizgāju pie tēviem. I almost went to visit the fathers. Don't do that again. Or similarly, tā jau var ar sirdi aiziet. Now that's what you just did. It can make somebody leave with the heart, evoking a heart attack, to go with your heart. You can also aiziet pie Dieva, go to God, or aiziet pie Pētera, go to Peter, Saint Peter in this case. However, clever Latvians never miss a chance to capitalize on gruesome things, so you can also aiziet pie Pētera as in one of the many bars with that name in Latvia, because we are funny people and death doesn't scare us. But if up is not a destination for you, you can also aiziet pie veļiem, veļi. I feel like I have spoken about this briefly previously, but maybe I should make a full video on the topic as Veļu likes is approaching us. But basically, veļi are dead yet hungry relatives that visit us in the time between Halloween and Christmas. So, aiziet pie veļiem means to go join them. Instead of aiziet, you can also use other verbs like beigt, to end. Beigt savas gaitas, for example, to stop your explorations on this earth, or beigt ciest, to stop your suffering. Kas nu kuram tuvāks, whatever is closer to your soul. Other popular expressions for to die evoke the verb stiept, to stretch. Only Latvians will understand that atstiept kājas, to stretch out your legs, or atstiept pēdas, to stretch out your feet, means to die. And there are many other things you can stretch and people will still understand you, such as kātus, your sticks, walking leg sticks, pedāļus, your bicycle pedals, ķepalas, your paws if you're an animalistic creature, lipu, your bunny's tail, or kēdas, atstiept kēdas, if you are a modern Latvian stretching out their sneakers. But stretching is not for everyone. You can also nolikt, to place things. So, if Grandpa, for example, nolikt karoti, has put down his spoon, you know what it means. Or, if he nolikt ķelli, yes, Grandpa has died and he was also a bricklayer, for he has put down his trowel. Trowel, the tool that he uses in bricklaying. He atdeva galus, in other words, he gave his ends back. Yeah, our expressions are weird, but it's gonna get even weirder. If somebody dies in battle, we say that they krist. krita karā, they died in war, or krita cīņā, they died in a battle. If it was an accident, we say that they gāja bojā, they went into damage literally, but that's how we say that somebody died in an accident. But if you're wondering, I wish there was a way to say that somebody died, but it was also their own fault, and so I can judge them for their poor decisions, well, you're in luck. We are Latvians after all, so of course we have a saying for such occasions. Dabūt galu, to get one's end, and nosisties, to beat yourself off, in the sense that you die, is what we say when somebody engages in something dangerous like motorcycle riding and then dies. So both of these imply that the deceased went out looking for death and so consequently are beigts un pagalam, dead and fully dead. And once we are in that mood, there are also some ways to say that somebody died that are on the decadent side. Salīmēt plaznas un laisties dibenā evokes the idea of giving up on life. If you're a fish who glues their swim fins together and sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Maybe instead of the more spiritual destinations we looked at previously, God, the other sun, you prefer something more earthbound, so maybe some of you prefer to braukt uz tārpu valsti, drive off to the land of the worms, or dabūt pierakstu kukaiņu ciemā, to get a reservation in Bugtown. Another unflattering way to die is nograbēt kastē, to rattle in a wooden box. I can see that being used about somebody that has died that you did not particularly like. But for those who die and are still concerned about fashion, more appropriate expressions would be pielaikot koka ancuku, to try on a wooden suit, or uzvilkt baltas čībiņas, to put on white slippers, which I guess is what they put on for you in a morgue, or when they bury you. Not sure where that came from, but on that note, why don't we finish with a nice message from our maestro Raimonds Pauls, and more precisely from his song Baltās čībiņas, liec pie lūpām kausu. White slippers, put that picture to your lips. And it goes a little something like this. Liec pie lūpām kausu, iztukšo to sausu, tā! Lai nepaliek nelāsītes. Kas to zin vai rītu, varēsim mēs plītēt, varbūt būsim baltās čībiņās. Or put that picture to your lips and drink it dry so that no drop remains. Who knows if tomorrow we will be able to continue plītēt, which is a word in Latvian that means to consume alcohol excessively and for a long time, to perform alcoholism. Maybe we are gonna be in white slippers. Un nu, viss! Thank you so much for watching this Irregular Latvian lesson on ways to say to die in Latvian. There are many more dainas and poems evoking death in Latvian. Share examples that you know in the comments so we can have a lovely laugh about death together. Maybe we'll have enough material to one day make a part 2 of Latvian death-related humor. Patreons, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Have an idea for a grammar lesson that may or may not already be up for you on there. But for everybody, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon, maybe. Bye!